Well, this next one comes from his chairman, Nnaji. As you see in the welcoming slide, yes, professional in politics, I like to refer himself. But let's attempt to look at the politics of all of this, because, I mean, you heard Mr. Femi Awoyemi talking about how it does come across. Already, the markets are responded. The Naira going as slow, as he said. It hasn't gone this slow in 15 years. So it's having a ripple effect. And you heard the Honorable there talking about the fact that the law does not recognize suspension, just removal. So what do you think of this?
Well, let me start by saying that the CBN governor, the suspended CBN governor, Sanusi, by a number of issues and controversies that have surrounded his person and office since his tenure, and himself confirmed it. He expected that he ought to have been removed earlier than now.
Wasn't he being cynical?
I don't think so.
Given the person he is.
I don't think so. Once there was a former president of this country once said that he was surprised that this country was still trudging on, knowing the kind of damage he himself personally inflicted on the economy. But Nigeria have remained resilient. It was a public statement. Perhaps he didn't know what he was saying. So so many people expected that the government should have removed him or eased him out earlier than now. Legality, you see, the law is a simple and complex thing. When the law says, don't kill a goat with knife, it did not say that the goat should not be killed. I don't know whether you are getting my drift.
But he talks about how to kill the goat.
There are many ways of killing a rat. Yeah? You can give it rat poison 3 days down the line. When you would have taken a tour, the rat will finally go. So it will be said that the rat died. So when you talk about the CBN Act did not say that the governor should be suspended. A doctor has the power of life and death when you are on his operating table. He did not create that life, but he can take it through many ways. You understand? So the question of whether it is removal or suspension is that the CBN governor, as it is now, is on the sideline.
Yeah, but
he's not on the seat.
Yeah, but
and to question whether the president had the right, without granting him also the privilege that he had the right to have appointed him by whatever concatenation of fate. You understand? It's really missing the point.
What about those who may argue on the weight of an abuse of process? Because nobody wants to...
Which process now?
The process of his removal.
Has he been removed?
He's been suspended.
He has not been removed.
The
former president of, the prime minister of Israel was in coma for how many years? 8 years. He was not dead. You understand what I mean? So when you are on suspension, you understand, you are not in office. You can still be called suspended. It's a question of changing the adjective, to qualify you. You are still the CBN governor, but you are suspended. When there is a suspended animation, certain amount of oxygen enters your body. That's what is keeping you alive.
Well, Mr. Nnaji,
but he can no longer take some of those decisions, some of which people believe were, bordered on some rambunctious, posturing.
The picture being painted here is as though he's out and out. I mean, barely a few hours after the announcement of his suspension, names were already forwarded for those that will replace him.
He knew that his tenure was getting to an end, and he was not expecting a renewal. He himself knew. And many people would have been very shocked if he was granted a second term. You understand? So knowing that he will not come back, and it's just about 2 months or thereabout, natural thing is that the successor should have been, sourced and presented to be in the waiting so that he can properly hand over to somebody.
But assuming, let's take a look at the sequence of events. Assuming it was the other way around, possibly say like maybe earlier this month, you had heard the nomination, for the CBN governor's post. Do you think anyone would have raised eyebrows?
In government, things happen. It's just like those people who know about physiology. A lot of things are happening in your body which you don't know. Okay? When you eat, what do you think happens? A lot of things happen. It is only when perhaps when somebody wants to go and urinate that you now know he took copious amount of water and some human waste and so on. You understand what I mean? So a lot of things are going on in government. Like nobody heard about the Financial Reporting Council's report. And nobody heard that CBN governor was queried, although there was a time I read something that the CBN was, but I didn't get the details. You understand? You see, one thing in government is if you have a fool in government, you are in trouble. If you have an intelligent man in government, you're also in trouble. Because either way, he has people who can do his biddings. You understand what I mean? The government would have done its own due diligence. That is why I am happy that he said he's going to challenge his suspension in court. The road to the court is as free as the road to the market. And the legal tender is evidence. Just as you have legal tender to buy products in the market.
Dr. Nnaji, our earlier guest who was talking about the legality, was saying that, if we interpret, not left for us now, but he believes that the CBN governor could stand a chance in court if he argues that this is removal through the back door, in the sense that, he was suspended, there was an acting governor appointed, and then shortly on the same day, within 24 hours, you had the name being forwarded to the Senate, which doesn't seem to give much room for him returning to that same office if he's found not guilty of the allegations that have been, put against him. But what I'm trying to do is rearrange the events. So, for instance, if we had heard a nomination in, say, January earlier this year, I don't think that anyone would have raised eyebrows, considering the fact that everyone knew that he was supposed to be leaving this year anyway. And then if a suspension was announced at a later date, what do you make of this timing in the very first instance?
No, but
so some people have really argued about the timing and also the legality or otherwise of this.
There have been a lot of speculations as to who was going to replace Sanusi. And the search was on much earlier than now. You understand?
Then no eyebrows were raised.
Yes.
It was normal.
Now, it's a process. It's not an event. Now, if that process culminated into what is happening now, the issue of timing is just like, when is the best time to die? Is it at 180 years or at 40 years? Or even at birth, when you would have not seen the iniquities of this world? What is the right time? That is the issue. The right time is as per the interpretation of those who have interest. So there are colorations. If you have not finished a project, perhaps you mapped out for yourself using the office to ingratiate, you will feel that it is not the right time. If you are frustrated on the job.
Oh, no, Mr. Nnaji, I think it's very important to state that
Yes.
there's a very marked difference between things that we have control over. You don't have control over when you die or when you're born. Those are things that,
The same thing, somebody who appointed you.
Just a moment.
You have a 5-year tenure.
Just a moment, sir. That is different from, he's not the one complaining about timing now.
Yes,
it
yes.
doesn't seem like what his complaint is totally different.
Yes.
It's just that considering the amount of things going on around that office and other agencies of government associated with the CBN, a host of people are saying, could this truly have been done in good faith?
That is why I'm saying that all this argument is about politics. But I was trying to look beyond that to extrapolate it to even what happens in nature, because these things operate within the gamut of principles. But if you want me to get into the politics, now, the people that will agitate that the timing may be wrong may be people who share Sanusi's, views on certain things that he has said, and who perhaps by chance or by whatever design may have profited from certain acts. For example, the revelation that, or his statement that NNPC had some dealings. Remember that NNPC have been in public view is an institution that may not be so straightforward, even before now. Now, Sanusi now came to make some statements. He modified some of those statements and so on and so forth. If you ask me politically, what I would have advised the president if I were in his position, in the position to advise him, I would have asked that he should have been removed before now, or now that he has acted faster than government, because what he has done was smartly remove the searchlight on him. If there was a knowledge to him that he had some issues to settle with government. You know, in this climb now, if you have problem with one party, you must defect to the other, so that the others will not see the iniquities you carry to them, and they begin to blackmail the other. That is the way it works now. So, having seen that particular scenario, a government should be advised not to engage in controversy, lest the issues that are being focused on will be drowned in that unnecessary controversy. For example, people are no longer looking so much at what the government is saying that Sanusi did. They are now saying that the government is not ready to fight corruption, you know, because
It talks about perception.
that is the perception. The person who advised the government to take that decision now did not factor all those things, you know, into consideration. And that's why I said that there is need for strategic thinkers in government, because they will be able to take everything on board. Sometimes you want to kill a goat, but if you think that your neighbors will think that you have made so much money and unleash armed robbers on you, you go and buy from the same market. Instead, you can buy more quantity, even more than one goat. But they have seen that you went to buy meat from the market, you know, just using a pedestrian illustration. But that perception must be thoroughly managed. That's why you have public relations, you have people who are into PR, you know.